So hopefully you should be able to find us, but fingers crossed. This is the second part, and we should be back shortly. So I'm just waiting for everybody to find us. Hi Deb! At least somebody managed to find me. So do let us know as soon as you get across. I'm just trying to get everybody across at the moment. So we should be live on YouTube, Twitch and Facebook. Yay! So we have Carol, we have Sally. Okay. Now I will try my best, but at the moment I have no clue exactly where and where not I'm going. So I've had to quickly redo the stream key, so hopefully everything is set up and in the right place and you can all find us. It's going to be one of those days. Okay, so before we have to break, I've imported my design. You can see the drawing elements in blue, the cut lines in black, and hopefully you can see everything all right and you can hear us okay. Fingers crossed. So we've loaded our Inkjoy needlepoint and I'm going to go okay. Okay, okay again. And things are tinkling well, so I'm just going to try and check that everything's okay. Oh, apparently Louise is struggling to get the link there, so I do apologise. I do apologise. Hi Tracy on YouTube. And thank you Carol. It's really cool that we've got the group to 4,500. I'm like, woohoo! Yeah, it's just one of those days today, you know, when Across the Way decided they're going to start digging up the garden. So that was the first thing, and then IT is the next. And then delivery people. What's going on? I swear they set their watches for when I go live and go, right, that's the point that we need to go. Okay, so I'm going to go to please select and we're going to go to draw. Now the only time that you would change that is if it's going to be a slow drying ink. And then you can use foiling for that. No Louise, I can't see you yet. Yep, they can be pains. Right, so I'm going to go into my settings. Now settings are really important when it comes to our pens. Now because I'm using a needle point, we don't have to worry as much about too much pressure. But I am still going to take it down just a little, because if you think about it, you've got a needle tip that is metal, and if that pressure is going to be too much, it's going to dig into your paper. Now you're either going to then break your nib eventually over time. You may rock up your card and ruin your design, which you really don't want to do, or you may end up with a kind of a dip where you've drawn. draw speed. Now draw speed will vary with the pen and the ink. So if it's something that's slower flowing, like a gel pen, particularly if they're older, then you're going to want to go nice and slow. If it's something that's going to bleed, like an alcohol pen, you're going to want to go fast. With something like our needlepoint, we're going to go into the middle and go to 3. And go OK. So I'm going to let that carry on. Now when it comes up with this screen, it's because we're using Carl's 3D Fun Prints pen holder. Just go OK and start. Next issue. If it comes up with this screen, it's not that you've done something wrong, it's just that you've done some scanning. So I'm just going to raise that up. So that lifts up your scan glass away from your mat, so that we're not going to be smudging ink. So that's why it does that bit. We'll go OK. And finally off it goes. So, now for the fascinating bit, because I love watching it draw. Yeah, that's one of my favourite things to do, is to just watch it, because it's a wonder, if you think about it, what's actually going on mathematically wise, because it's thinking about, you know, how fast or slow does it need to go across the mat this way. Then the rollers are going, how fast does it need to go round this way, so that you're going in and out. And timing the two together to do a curve, I just think that's just wow. Jill, it wasn't just you that had a problem. It was Facebook had a problem. So if it does suddenly go, just let me know. Most of you have some way of reaching out to me. So apparently when we put up the event notifications, it's changed how it does the timing. So the time that it shows should be the time that's local to you. I say should because I know Jill had an issue earlier where it actually came up with the wrong time. So this is the first pen, this is the Inkjoy gel. So this is starting right down at 6.8, goes up to about 18 I think I did for the design. So this is a good one to do with lots of different fonts. So use the desktop version of Canvas, and then you can change the font without having to worry to convert it to curves before sending it to your machine. The only time that you need to worry about doing it in something else is where you want to do it accurately. So where I did 6.8 point. Yeah, I think it's confused everyone the way that they've changed during the times. Confused me when Jill said, was I going at 10 o'clock? I was like, no. Although oddly enough, by then I was ready. I was ready to go at 10. Is it crafting weekend this weekend? No, it's the last bank holiday in May. And the file that you got yesterday was the members project for April. So if you're subscribed as a member, unfortunately this time round we've had to email it to you. I do have a issue in with their support team because at the moment we don't have another way of being able to do that to you because it keeps crashing and saying it's blank when it's not. I know it's not. I created the file, it's definitely not blank. Okay, so let's zoom in so we can see how detailed we can go. Now, I'm just going to change my screen so I can see this a bit better. There we go. Now if I zoom in a bit, you can go right up to that 6-point text. So when we're creating text, you should never go any smaller than 6 points for it to be legible. But it is tiny. So let's grab a ruler actually, so that you can kind of get a sense of scale here. And you're looking at about 2 mil tall. Tiny. So when somebody said how small can you go, it's all about the pen that you use. So as we start to head up, we can see that we've got our 8-point. And again, I'll bring the ruler in so you can see that there. And we've got our 10-point. Oh, that's wobbling off a little bit, just there. And you can see our 12-point and our 14-point. And then our 16-point. So for each of those sentiments in the file, I've also created a little cutout tag that can go around it. But I thought, rather than cutting them all out and taking up your time, certainly for this top one, what I'll do is I'll skip on to the next pen. So I'm going to bring you back up here a little bit and zoom out. And let's see if we can get a Pilot V5 to fit. So if you don't have the Inkjoy liquid, chances are you have a Pilot V5 or a V7 because it's quite a popular pen. It's also not a very expensive pen. So if you wanted to have a number of these in the stash, and as I said, you can now get the refillable version. The refillable version does fit slightly differently, but I couldn't find mine. So it's done a bit of a runner. So again, gonna pop that in there, stick your guide on. Through we go. Tighten it up. And that one will fit too. So now to test it in the rubber holder, just in the interest of being fair. So make sure that your little notches are to this up arrow here. Slide it in so that your nib hits the bottom. Lift it up and round until it's tight. So not over tight, but tight. Okay. Then give it a gentle tug. Now if like on this one you can see it's slipping, then we can lift it up and we can try go round another notch. Now if it really won't do that, you can use just a little bit of PTFE just to help it grip that nib a bit better. But that is one of the reasons why I do love having the option of swapping over to Coles, so that we can use pens without necessarily having to wrap them in bundles of tape. So needle points are really good for doing fine detail and where you don't want to have to worry about pressure and where you don't want to be ruining your nice fine liner pens. Okay, so fine liners. I'm looking at the narrow end of the field. So I have a 0.05 I have a 0.05 Derwent, the 0.05 art line. So hopefully I'm covering most of the pens that you may have in your stash. I have the 0.03 in the Zig. I have the 0.05 in the Uniball pin. I have a Schneider, which is Ian's favourite pen, which is why it got snuck in. He snuck it in my pile. So that's a little bit bigger, so I might save that to the end. And I have a Staedtler 0.05. Now you'll notice in the post that went up for this project, I put a comment saying, if you are going to do this, do not use the pen that you normally draw with. Okay, and that's because when we're drawing, normally you will hold your pen like this. So let's say the paper's there, you will go like that. Now obviously with something that's as fine as a 0.03 or 0.05, the Scan and Cut is going to draw like that, and you're going to get a flat end. So you'll see this even more so with something like a 0.5, 0.8, because you'll actually have that visual flatness that you can see. But once a pen has been in the Scan and Cut, keep it for the Scan and Cut, because as soon as you then try and draw with it like this, you're going to have skipping lines. It's just not going to be good. So keep a set that is for your Scan and Cut. So decide which ones you want to go for, and then buy a set. So the Ohuhu, for instance, comes as a set of 8. The Derwent Graphics, I think, is a set of 4 or a set of 5. The Art Lines, you have 8 of those, I believe. The Mangakas, you have a set of 6. The PNs, I think, are 8. It's been a while since I bought those, I must admit. The pigment liners you tend to buy individually to get that size, and the Schneiders are individually. Any questions? I'm just panicking now because I'm thinking that chat hasn't moved, and that's weird. Hopefully we're still live, because everything says it's okay-ish, isn't it? Let me just check, because... Yay! That's good then, Deb, if we're still here. So, let's go for the fit test first of all. So, Ohuhus. They're really good for if you don't know what you're going to be colouring with. I found them pretty resistant to both water and alcohol. So, when we're loading a fine tip pen, especially a 0.03, what you're going to do is you're going to very gently rest it down against the guide. So don't drop, don't push, just gently rest it in. You're going to try and do this without touching the pen at all, if you can help it. So we're going to twist it up tighter to that point where it feels tight, and then just very gently give it a little tug. Okay, so that one will fit quite happily in your Brother pen holder. Okay, and I will do the same test for the 3D fun prints, because not everybody has both. So I'm going to pop that in through the top. Now this one's a little bit more tricky to do, because we've got the kind of end bit. You want to try and feed it through very gently, because we don't want to put any pressure on that tip. Now, to get that down to that guide, we've got to push that end bit through. Now, I would say, because of the size of the nib that we've got, I'm not going to force that through any more than that. So I'm going to say that's a no-no. So keep that one for your Brother pen holder, okay? would you like me to show you that one? And I'll pop it back in. So I'm just gently going to lower that in. Lift it up, twist it round, give it a gentle tug. Okay, and we're going to go and get back to our machine. I'm going to get OK. There we go. Get my pencil. I'm going to go back. Now I've grouped this all as one element so I can move it back a bit easier. So I'm just going to drag it down to about there. Okay. And I'm going to draw. Now with this one we're going to go to our settings, and remember how I was saying, because it's a fine tip and it's a fibre tip, we want to make sure that we don't put too much pressure through. So I'm going to take that pressure all the way down. If it went any lower, I would go lower still, because something like a fine tip needs no pressure to draw whatsoever. Now, speed wise, normally if it's a felt tip pen, I would usually set it at 5, because obviously the pen will bleed out. But because we've got that really fine tip, if we start going really, really fast, we're putting lateral pressure on that nib. So you've got two types of pressure with the machine. You've got the pressure that's pushing downwards, and then you've got the pressure that's doing this. So if you think about your little nib dragging along your paper, and it's just going to be one of those days today, isn't it? Anybody else? Anybody else would like to, to step in? Oh dear. You couldn't write in a book today, could you?
It's all go today, yeah.
Spam might take it.
Sky.
No, it's not.
Yeah, quite. Okay, just thought I'd let you know. Good if I just ended the call.
Yeah. Oh dear. Even the scammers are trying to get me. No, I can honestly say that if the phone rings, 99 times out of the 100 it will be spam, because we don't give out our phone number to nearly anyone. I think he's gone back in, so he probably wouldn't hear if I shouted. Oh dear. Oh, it's just one of those days. Okay, so rather than let my pen dry up, let's carry on and wait for the phone to go again. And off we pop. There we go. That's quite a good idea, that, Jill, you know. They can pay for a call from India. But we're forever getting the one that claims to be Sky, which just makes us laugh. Anna. No, if Ian's got time, or he'll lead them up the garden path. He had one the other day. Well, tell me my name then. No, if you need to talk to me, tell me my name. No, or try to tell me my name. It was like that for about half an hour. Ian's nan used to be a pro with scanners. She'd get the ones that would be like, this is such and such from Windows. We need to fix your computer. Can you do this? And she says, can you tell me where it is then? Well, the plug's in the side of the machine. No, can you tell me where my machine is? Yeah, if you pick up and they say nothing, that's because it's an autodialer, which are actually illegal in this country. Which is why they say that they're international, because if they come through with a UK thing, they'll get done. But no. Phone is a source of anxiety for me, so yeah. Yeah, then that's pretty much the same situation with the one that we keep getting. They can look at your number and take a guess who you're with, though. There we go. So, let's show you what difference that makes. So this is the 0.05, so it's not the finest we can go, but it's certainly not far off. So I'll do the same again with ruler, so you can kind of see it zoomed in a bit. And you can see where the pen got a little bit dry while it was waiting, just on our little heart here. So that's the first shape it draws. But there we go, and let's zoom, and here we go. So you can see with this pen, our UU completely is a bit clearer than when we've used our 0.5, because obviously you've got that finer line, which means that your centre shapes are going to stay more open and it's going to be more legible. So that is something to bear in mind when we're picking fonts. If it is something that is quite closed in the centre, then you're going to have to go to a finer pen. If it's something that's more open in the middle, then you can start to go a little bit bolder. Yeah, that's a good approach. That was a bit like Ian's approach with tell me my name then. They can't do it because they have no clue. Okay, so as we move down to our 16 point, so your actual text size doesn't change, okay? But what changes is the space between the line, which is why if you look at that one and then look at that one, the one done with a bolder pen is going to look more like a bold font, whereas the finer pen is going to look more like your regular hairline. Okay, so now I'm going to brave the 0.03 next. So let's move back up, bang back over. I'm sure at this point my phone hates me. There we go. So 0.03, if I move over the white and try and, is tiny. Absolutely tiny. So when we're doing the guide, you really do need to be careful that you don't snag it anywhere inside your holder on either. So the last pen was the Ohuhu fine liner, and I will pop a link up on the group for these because you can get them from Amazon. And that's a 0.05, if I can just get the light on it where it doesn't glare too much. There you go, 0.05. So in that same pack, because you can't get those individually, you do get the 0.1, 2 of. You get 0.2, a 0.3, a 0.5, a 0.7, and a 1. And you get the brush pen as well, which is an interesting pen to work with. So you've got quite a fine brush on that. Okay. So, 0.03. This is a Mangaka, but you can get a 0.03 in a couple of the ranges now. Usually they are buy individually. You don't usually get them as a part of a set, just because they're pretty specialist. So if I can get that to try and light it up, it's a bit difficult. Let's get my hand out of the way. Let's show that black thing on the black background because I haven't cleaned the holder. Naughty natty. It's tiny, tiny. So again, I'm going to give that a little gentle tug, and that one fits okay too. So that's the Mangaka by Kuretake. And I will also test that one in the 3D Fun Prints. So again, because of the size of the nib, we want to go really careful when we're loading this. Try and keep that pen as straight as possible. When we get to the end, I'm just going to really gently just try and push that through. And again, I think it's just going to be a push too far for that little nib. So when we're working with something like the needlepoint, you can stick that through and not worry about it. But when it's something that is this fine, you do want to go that little bit extra careful. And it's not that the pen holder won't necessarily won't be able to grip it. It's just that you don't want to accidentally overpress and slip too far, because then you could damage your pen. Now there are other pens that you can get with this size nib, and one of them is the Copic refill pen. Now what I would say at this point is, if you are going to go for a refill pen, don't use it in your scan and cut, because you'll wear out your nib faster than you will ever use up your ink. So that is another thing to bear in mind when you are working with fibre fine liners in your scan and cut, is the wear on the nib will be much quicker, because obviously it's drawing like this, and pens are designed to be used more at an angle like that. It's also the reason why there can be a discrepancy in the nib or line width sizes that are on pens, because they're designed to be used at an angle, and also if you're taking it up on its edge, it's actually going to be narrower than if it's on its side. So if you're doing a fill with some of the thicker pens like a 0.5, 0.8, then if you set your machine to match that and you're still getting banding, that is why it's designed that it's that line width in use, and yet when you put it in the scan and cut, it's going to be onto that tip. Okay. So this is probably the finest pen that you can get currently. So even your technical pencils are typically a 0.5, so thicker than these. So I'm going to go back to here. Okay, go back. So we're going to move it down to this next section, like so. Okay, please select draw. We're going to go into our settings. Now, because this is even finer than our 0.05, we're going to go slower. Okay, so bear in mind that that is going to, by nature of ink, make your line a little bit thicker because we're going slower. It's going to be really marginal though at that size, to be honest, but it's going to take a little bit of that pressure off that nib. So think about your lateral pressure as it's moving across the page rather than onto the page. So maybe 2, maybe 1. Let's go for 1, so you can be nice and slow and careful. Again, this is one of those that if the pressure went down below -9, I'd go even lower. So depending on the machine that you're using, it could be that you are setting it for paper and things like that. Okay. And let's go for it. And let's move the camera. So out of the other pen brands that I mentioned, are there any that you would like me to show? So we have the Derwent Graphic, the Artline Drawing System fine liners, the Unipen fine liners, the Staedtler pigment liners, the Schneider 0.4, and then I have one last pen type to show you. Can everybody still hear me okay? Okay, I've got a tick on all 3 channels at the moment, so that's promising. You're welcome, Linda. So one of the fun things that Ian and I like to do when we go around trade fairs is to take the pen holders with us, and we'll actually go around and actually test out to see which pens can actually go in and I think Louise is struggling on Facebook. Plus occasionally you do get some nice freebies. So the Artline pen that I have is a freebie. Just in the interest of clarity. Transparency. So if there's one of those that you would like me to show you, if you have them already in your stash, then just let me know. Hey, we should have Louise back. Goodness knows what the Facebook is doing today. So there's going to be an announcement going up this week about, well, a few things, a few little changes that are going to be happening, and a few things that we've got in the pipeline that are going to be interesting for you all to join in with. Including there's going to be some new DT videos going up, so there's going to be one a week. So 1 week you'll get me, 1 week you will get Deb, 1 week you'll get Tracy, and lastly we will have a new member of the DT who I know is absolutely dying for me to make an announcement as to who it is. So I will try and get that out ASAP so that she can share it out, because she's being awfully good at trying to be nice and quiet about it. So because we've slowed our speed down, you're going to find that it is a little bit slower to get that drawing done, because it's quite a complex one. So I don't think that your machine's doing something wrong, it's just that it is taking its time. So if I zoom in, you can see that there's a few little bits that it's just missed. Oh, stretch across. But they do get there eventually, so don't worry about it. It's just where we've loaded it in. So when we're loading our pens, it's a good idea to have a scrap piece of paper that you can just give it a little squiggle on before you put it in and start drawing. Or if it's been sat in the machine for a while, just take it out, give it a little squiggle and pop it back in again. So that's going to help avoid issues like the flower on the heart here. So hopefully one day they will bring out a 0.03 or even a 0.05 that has a metal tip, because then they'll be much easier for you all to be using them. But it's just a case of going slow and fine. To use the mono pens that Barbara uses, I think you mean the Pigma Microns. Now, the normal Pigma Micron fine liners won't fit for certain in the Brother one. I haven't tested it recently actually with the 3D Thumbprints one, so I will try and check that. But they do a pen called the Pigma Micron PN. Now this is the last pen that I'm going to show you, because it's a little bit different. So if I take the cap off, you can see that it's got a little bit of a plastic nib, which is what the PN stands for. So let's zoom into our drawing, and you can see just where it's missed these first few, where it's just been sat after our guide. So because you just done with a little squiggle first. But now if we zoom in, and let me just change screens so I can see my preview, and I'm going to go to the You Complete Me, so a bit bigger. So this, because we've stepped down again in pen size, is that a little bit clearer, but it's also going to appear fainter now because you've got to that point where you've kind of got a trade-off between the width of the nib and how dense that colour is going to look. So if we look at something like the Cherish U, it's almost got more of a grey tinge than the 0.05. So you can see it really is fine, fine, fine. Okay, so again I'm going to pop in a ruler for a centre scale, and if we look at our 6 point, you can really see now that our letters have that open space in the middle. So it's a good way, by doing this, that you're learning how to balance the pen size to the detail in your design. So if you've got closed areas, you're going to want to go for a finer pen. And as we move down, you can see that it really does showcase how open the font is at this size. So I'm going to zoom back out so you can see all three of those together. This is a bit like eye test now, isn't it? Just see if I can get the phone to take its own weight a bit. It's gone a little bit loose with all this wobbling about. Oh, come on, up a bit. Try again. Come on. There we go. It's going to be a bit lopsided, so I apologise for that. But you can see that we go from our black with our needle point. Then we went to our 0.05 with our hoo-hoo. Then we've gone right down to our 0.03 with our mangakas. So the 0.03 is a good pen to have in terms of giving you that opportunity to go really detailed, but don't spend too much on it because they won't last as long, just because friction on that nib. Finally, the ends. So let's go that way. There we go. I do apologise if the camera's going to start drooping a bit, but I've moved it a lot, so it will need retightening. So our PN nib is a plastic tip. So it's a bit more resilient, but what you can find is that because it's plastic, it can spatter a little bit. So you're going to want to still go slow, because obviously if you're going across fast, that's when things are going to start splattering. And also don't apply too much pressure in detailed designs. Let's go for, let's take this one out. Shall I start with the 3D thumbprints one? Let's see if we can get something on that one. Because Brother's had way too much fun today. So I'm going to pop this one into our holder, and because it's a plastic tip, we can be a bit more brutal with it. And we're going to tighten that up. Give our little wobble on the guide, so if you can hear that, then you know it's in the right place. Now this one is a brown one, and for the sake of transparency, yes, this was a gift one. I'm going to pop that in my holder with the two lines to the back. And I'm going to go back and move our design down a little bit again. So I'm going to go down to here. Go OK, and draw. I'm going to go to settings. Oh, and a little bit low there. Let's go. Oh, that wasn't good. That's my naughty stand giving way. Hang on. It's one of those you need a hand for. Tell you what, I'm just going to hold it there for a minute because I need to get round the other side of the desk. So, pressure, again, you don't want to go too much with this pen because you don't want it to cause that spatter. You're not going to damage your nib, but it is all about the spatter on this one. Draw speed, going to keep it at 1. And what I will do is go, okay, now if I'm really good, I'll be able to get my Velcro off and use the same cable, because otherwise I'm going to lose you all and I don't want that. Now it's due to be on lunch. Now it would be really useful time if he just finished the call, wouldn't it? Okay, let's take you out of this one. I do apologise because I'm going to make you all dizzy, because I'm going to swap you across to the other holder. There we go. Oh, this one's a little stiffer. There we go. Down, down, down. Zoom me out. There we go. And while I'm reattaching the mount, I'm going to start that going. I can't quite get it to where you can see the pen, but I can at least get you to see the settings. So off we go. Right, let's get the mount sorted. So at least I can go back then and show you at the end. Yeah, sorry about that. Couldn't manage to change screen to the swapping cameras at the same time as holding the mount. Okay, let's loosen this off just a bit. So while I'm busy reattaching mount, if you want to pop any questions in, and I will try and answer those when we come back. Oh. That's what's wrong with it. It's lost its little pad. There we go. Tighten that one. Anything else I can tighten while I'm here? There we go. Woo! No, it's just the mount has a little pad. It's supposed to protect the desk. I say it's supposed to. It doesn't do a very good job. It doesn't stay put, which is why then it goes loose and drops off. We've even stuck it with red liner tape and even that won't stay on. Which, as you know, is like the equivalent of super glue, but for crafters. Will I be starting the drawing lesson soon? I was thinking about this the other day, Carol. Because we're kind of getting used to Ian's pattern now. Ish. In that there is no pattern. So what we're going to have to do, I think, is probably pre-record them, and then I will join the chat live, if that makes sense. At least I think that's the best way that we can kind of have it working. Because obviously trying to draw and control cameras just is a little bit more awkward. But one of the things I'm also looking at doing is popping some videos into the Designing with Vectors group too, because there's a number of like little techniques I want to show you that you can't really write down, or you could write down but it'd take more space than it actually deserves as a technique, if that makes sense. So that's one of the things that might be part of the announcement, is when we'll be hopping into the other groups, because we've also got the normal book readers group, which also needs some TLC too. So I'm going to be trying to cover some of the projects that we've done in the books in that group, so that we can actually have some videos of them being put together. Because when we did them, certainly for the Crafters Yearbook, they were created for the magazines, so they very rarely had videos created for them. So it'd be nice to go back and just put those together. But when they're in those groups, they will be exclusive to those groups. So they won't be on YouTube or on Twitch. Oh. You couldn't have finished 5 minutes earlier, could you? Ooh. Oh, thank you.
Why not 5 minutes early?
Because the mount came off the desk.
Which one?
That one. I had to swap the camera over to that one quick to screw that one back on the desk. The pad's come off again, so
okay.
we could do with replacing it, I think.
Yeah, are you still online, are you finished?
I'm still online.
Still...
Seb, come say hello.
Can I say hello?
Yeah.
Hello, everybody.
Carol did say hello, but you'd already had to dash back
Okay.
in, hadn't
Yeah,
you?
I was on lunch, so kettle's boiling ready for...
Yay! Cup of tea.
Yeah, and din-dins, as we said.
Din-dins. Yeah.
Didn't we? Yeah. Okay. Hi, Deb. Hi, Linda. I'm going to cut open that packet as well.
Cute.
Hi, Joe. Say hi as they come up.
Okay. To answer Sue's question about if I'm feeling much better now, I have my days, don't I?
Yes.
So I'm looking at trying to slow down the videos a little bit so that I can also get other stuff done, because I think I got myself a bit stressed out the weekend. So I was a bit naughty and I wasn't well. It wasn't good. And Carol says better late than never.
Yeah, well, have again now.
And Tracy says hi.
You did?
Tracy.
Tracy, hi, Tracy.
I don't know if you managed to hear that, Tracy, or not. Oh. Yeah.
Just quickly take this and put it in the other room.
Oh. Okay. Oh. I need to take up weightlifting. Okay. Right. So. I do apologise because I'm going to make you all dizzy now. Tell you what, very quickly, I'm going to pop up the little swapping cameras just so I don't get you all trying to sit. But what I do, I'll try and remember that I have the mics turned off for that bit. See you on the other side. There we go. And zoomed up and back down here a little bit. So we can see with our plastic nibs it's a little bit bolder. It missed out that bit, but it was obviously having a moment. Probably about the same time as the stand went off. And let's zoom that in a bit so we can see the detail. So you can see because we've slowed it down, we've got a much neater line than what we would have if it was quicker. And I'll focus on the 8 point, means it missed the 6 point a little bit. A little bit, yeah, you can wonder. So, again, I'll pop a ruler in for, there you go, scaling, so you can see it's a much bolder line. It has more in common with let's judge it by the S. I would say it's more like the 0.05. So if you look at the S in Cherish, or you would do if it doesn't managing to get there. There we go. There you go. I let go so it goes stable. Yeah, it's much harder to sit and try and do the some of the videos on my own, because I'd like to show you some really complex things, but then it's kind of like flick from machine back to desk, and in some cases it's display to machine to desk, which is really tricky when there's not two of us. Okay, so hopefully I've taken you through a few different pens. If there's any other than the Ohuhus that you would like me to pop a link up for, just let me know. And I will also pop a photo on the group of those pieces. And then you never know, I might just get round to cutting them this afternoon. So take care for now, and I will see you, let me think. It'll either be tomorrow or it'll be Friday, so we'll see. If I'm feeling good, it'll be tomorrow. If I'm not feeling so good, it'll be Friday. So take care, and